Yeah, what up, y'all? Welcome to Crown TV. I am the Crown Prince, aka Mr. Anti-Goofy. You know what not to do in my comments. Shout out to the Anti-Goofy gang. We approaching 10,000 strong. We in the building. If you want to donate to the channel and you really gang, instead of the super chat, hit up the Cash App gang. AKA, I cover the court cases for a living. What up, y'all? Today I want to talk about the mysterious case of these mandatory minimums and why these dudes are getting the mandatory minimum. And also, I want to touch on something that's in the Crippy paperwork. First, let's talk about the mysterious case of these mandatory minimums. A lot of people are wondering how these people are getting these mandatory minimums, and it's not really that big of a secret. They're getting the mandatory minimums because they copped out. That's the bottom line. In exchange for not having to go to trial, the federal prosecutors are recommending the mandatory minimum for these defendants. Look, I'm telling you now, and you can mark my words, that this idea that all of these dudes are snitching is a fairy tale. These dudes are taking their time. You do not snitch to get your mandatory minimum. You snitch to get below your mandatory minimum. Example, Tekashi 6ix9ine. You cop out to get that recommendation. These prosecutors are not exactly saving these dudes. They are literally pointing out to the judge how dangerous these dudes are. And that's what I wanted to point out about these sentencing submissions. I showed y'all shotties the other day. We skipped over Crippies. But what these sentencing submissions are is both sides telling the judge how much time they think Shotty should get and why, which is the key. This is the government sentencing submission for Crippy. And I'm skipping over all of the things about the crimes that he committed because nothing in there is new. But I want to read this part right here. It says, consistent with his actions during the April 3rd robbery, i.e. being one of the first assailants to run into the building and confront the victims, the government understands through cooperating witnesses that the defendant primarily functioned as an enforcer. While not a member of the 9 Trey, the government understands that the defendant was a member of a different gang and associated himself with members of 9 Trey through Jordan. Indeed, cooperating witnesses would testify that the defendant often would be the first person that Jordan would call if a situation arose that required force to be used. This was evident when Jordan reached out to the defendant on July 16th prior to the shooting that resulted to a woman being struck in the foot. To be clear, the government does not have evidence establishing that the defendant was the shooter, but he obviously came to Jordan's mind as someone Jordan could contact in order to handle the problem. As compared to the other co-defendants, the government views the defendant as someone who is dangerous and will follow orders. The government views him as more culpable than his co-defendant Genzel Butler, but less culpable than some of the other co-defendants who were decision makers or held rank in 9 Trey. The defendant knowingly associated himself with 9 Trey and participated in or was present for several acts of violence throughout 2018. Moreover, as set forth in the PSR, a cooperating witness provided information that the defendant possessed a firearm during the witness's time with the defendant. On April 3, 2018, the defendant participated in an armed robbery that took place in the lobby of a building on a busy street in Midtown Manhattan. Seeing the violence that was being perpetuated all around him, the defendant could have extricated himself from 9 Trey at any point during this conspiracy, but instead the defendant continued his gang involvement up until the day of his arrest. In other words, this was not a one-time poor decision by the defendant. Even after his arrest and conviction in this case, the defendant utilized a contraband cell phone to make a posting on his social media account. This behavior suggests that the defendant does not fully appreciate the seriousness of this case. And this all goes to show you that these dudes are not getting their mandatory minimums out of favor. They're getting it because they copped a plea. I know it's hard, but we got to be careful and we got to be respectful, y'all. But in the end, The only thing that matters is what y'all think. So I want to know what y'all think about this in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe if you are not a goofy. If you are a goofy, you know the rules. It's the Crown Prince. I'm out, y'all.